Exodus chapters 33 through 40 of the Holy Bible, American Standard Version. Chapter 33. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, Depart, go up hence, thou and the people that thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt, unto the land of which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, Unto thy seed will I give it. And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanite, the Amorite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, unto a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way. And when the people heard these evil tidings, they mourned, and no man did put on him his ornaments. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Say unto the children of Israel, Ye are a stiff-necked people. If I go up into the midst of thee for one moment, I shall consume thee. Therefore now put off thy ornaments from thee, that I may know what to do unto thee. And the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments from Mount Horeb onward. Now Moses used to take the tent and to pitch it without the camp, afar off from the camp, and he called it the tent of meeting. And it came to pass that every one that sought Jehovah went out unto the tent of meeting, which was without the camp. And it came to pass, when Moses went out unto the tent, that all the people rose up and stood every man at his tent door, and looked after Moses until he was gone into the tent. And it came to pass, when Moses entered into the tent, the pillar of cloud descended, and stood at the door of the tent, and Jehovah spake with Moses. And all the people saw the pillar of cloud stand at the door of the tent, and all the people rose up and worshipped, every man at his tent door. And Jehovah spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp. But his minister Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, departed not out of the tent. And Moses said unto Jehovah, See, thou sayest unto me, Bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. Yet thou hast said, I know thee by name, and thou hast also found favor in my sight. Now therefore I pray thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show me now thy ways, that I may know thee, to the end that I may find favor in thy sight, and consider that this nation is thy people. And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. For wherein now shall it be known that I have found favor in thy sight, I and thy people? Is it not in that thou goest with us, so that we are separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth? And Jehovah said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found favor in my sight, and I know thee by name. And he said, Show me, I pray thee, thy glory. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and will proclaim the name of Jehovah before thee. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, Thou canst not see my face, for man shall not see me and live. And Jehovah said, Behold, there is a place by me, and thou shalt stand upon the rock. And it shall come to pass, while my glory passeth by, that I will put thee in a cleft of the rock, and will cover thee with my hand until I have passed by. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back, but my face shall not be seen. End of chapter 33. Chapter 34. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Hew these 2 tables of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon the tables the words that were on the first tables, which thou breakest. And be ready by the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me on the top of the mount. And no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount. Neither let the flocks nor herds feed before that mount. And he hewed 2 tables of stone, like unto the first. And Moses rose up early in the morning, and went up unto Mount Sinai, as Jehovah had commanded him, and took in his hand 2 tables of stone. And Jehovah descended in the cloud, and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of Jehovah. And Jehovah passed by before him, and proclaimed, Jehovah, Jehovah, a God merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abundant in loving-kindness and truth, keeping loving-kindness for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, and upon the children's children, upon the 3rd and upon the 4th generation. And Moses made haste, and bowed his head toward the earth, and worshipped. And he said, If now I have found favor in thy sight, O Lord, let the Lord, I pray thee, go in the midst of us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for thine inheritance. And he said, Behold, I make a covenant. Before all thy people I will do marvels, such as have not been wrought in all the earth, nor in any nation, and all the people among which thou art shall see the work of Jehovah, for it is a terrible thing that I do with thee. Observe thou that which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall break down their altars, and dash in pieces their pillars, and ye shall cut down their Asherim. For thou shalt worship no other God, for Jehovah, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they play the harlot after their gods, and sacrifice unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice. And thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters play the harlot after their gods, and make thy sons play the harlot after their gods. Thou shalt make thee no molten gods. The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, at the time appointed in the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. All that openeth the womb is mine, and all thy cattle that is male, the firstlings of cow and sheep. And the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break its neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, and none shall appear before me empty. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest. In plowing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, even of the first fruits of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end. 3 times in the year shall all thy males appear before the Lord Jehovah, the God of Israel. For I will cast out nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land, when thou goest up to appear before Jehovah thy God 3 times in the year. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the sacrifice of the feast of the Passover be left unto the morning. The first of the firstfruits of thy ground thou shalt bring unto the house of Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt not boil a kid in its mother's milk. And Jehovah said unto Moses, Write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. And he was there with Jehovah 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. And it came to pass, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tables of the testimony in Moses' hand, when he came down from the mount, that Moses knew not that the skin of his face shone by reason of his speaking with him. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him. And Moses called unto them, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation returned unto him. And Moses spake to them. And afterward all the children of Israel came nigh, and he gave them in commandment all that Jehovah had spoken with him in Mount Sinai. And when Moses had done speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But when Moses went in before Jehovah to speak with him, he took the veil off, until he came out. And he came out and spake unto the children of Israel that which he was commanded. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that the skin of Moses' face shone, and Moses put the veil upon his face again, until he went in to speak with him. End of chapter 34. Chapter 35. And Moses assembled all the congregation of the children of Israel, and said unto them, These are the words which Jehovah hath commanded, that ye should do them. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day there shall be to you a holy day, a Sabbath of solemn rest to Jehovah. Whosoever doeth any work therein shall be put to death. Ye shall kindle no fire throughout your habitations upon the Sabbath day. And Moses spake unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which Jehovah commanded, saying, Take ye from among you an offering unto Jehovah. Whosoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it, Jehovah's offering, gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen, and goat's hair, and rams' skins dyed red, and seal skins, and acacia wood, and oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, and onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate. And let every wise-hearted man among you come, and make all that Jehovah hath commanded: the tabernacle, its tent, and its covering, its clasps and its boards, its bars, its pillars and its sockets, the ark and the staves thereof, the mercy seat and the veil of the screen, the table and its staves, and all its vessels, and the showbread, the candlestick also for the light, and its vessels, and its lamps, and the oil for the light, and the altar of incense, and its staves, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the screen for the door at the door of the tabernacle, the altar of burnt offering, with its grating of brass, its staves and all its vessels, the laver and its base, the hangings of the court, the pillars thereof and their sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court, the pins of the tabernacle, and the pins of the court, and their cords, the finely wrought garments for ministering in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons, to minister in the priest's office. And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. And they came, every one whose heart stirred him up, and every one whom his spirit made willing, and brought Jehovah's offering for the work of the tent of meeting, and for all the service thereof, and for the holy garments. And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought brooches, and earrings, and signet rings, and armlets, all jewels of gold, even every man that offered an offering of gold unto Jehovah. And every man with whom was found blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and rams' skins dyed red, and seal skins, brought them. Every one that did offer an offering of silver and brass brought Jehovah's offering, and every man with whom was found acacia wood for any work of the service brought it. And all the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands, and brought that which they had spun, the blue and the purple, the scarlet, and the fine linen. And all the women whose heart stirred them up in wisdom spun the goat's hair. And the rulers brought the onyx stones, and the stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate, and the spice and the oil for the light, and for the anointing oil, and for the sweet incense. The children of Israel brought a freewill offering unto Jehovah, every man and woman whose heart made them willing to bring for all the work which Jehovah had commanded to be made by Moses. And Moses said unto the children of Israel, See, Jehovah hath called by name Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And he hath filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, and to devise skillful works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and in cutting of stones for setting, and in carving of wood, to work in all manner of skillful workmanship. And he hath put in his heart that he may teach, both he and Oholiab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan. Them hath he filled with wisdom of heart, to work all manner of workmanship, of the engraver, and of the skilful workman, and of the embroiderer, in blue, and in purple, in scarlet, and in fine linen, and of the weaver, even of them that do any workmanship, and of those that devise skilful works. End of chapter 35. Chapter 36. And Bezalel and Oholiab shall work, and every wise-hearted man, in whom Jehovah hath put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all the work for the service of the sanctuary, according to all that Jehovah hath commanded. And Moses called Bezalel and Oholiab, and every wise-hearted man, in whose heart Jehovah had put wisdom, even every one whose heart stirred him up to come unto the work to do it. And they received of Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, wherewith to make it. And they brought yet unto him freewill offerings every morning. And all the wise men that wrought all the work of the sanctuary came every man from his work which they wrought. And they spake unto Moses, saying, The people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which Jehovah commanded to make. And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, Let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing, for the stuff they had was sufficient for all the work to make it, and too much. And all the wise-hearted men among them that wrought the work made the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, with cherubim, the work of the skilful workman. Bezalel made them. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits. All the curtains had one measure. And he coupled 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one to another. And he made loops of blue upon the edge of the one curtain, from the selvage in the coupling. Likewise he made in the edge of the curtain that was outmost in the second coupling. 50 loops made he in the one curtain, and 50 loops made he in the edge of the curtain that was in the second coupling. The loops were opposite one to another. And he made 50 clasps of gold, and coupled the curtains one to another with the clasps. So the tabernacle was one. And he made curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. The length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits the breadth of each curtain. The 11 curtains had one measure. And he coupled 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that was outmost in the coupling, and 50 loops made he upon the edge of the curtain which was outmost in the second coupling. And he made 50 clasps of brass to couple the tent together, that it might be one. And he made a covering for the tent of rams' skins dyed red, and a covering of seal skins above. And he made the boards for the tabernacle of acacia wood, standing up. 10 cubits was the length of a board, and 1.5 cubits the breadth of each board. Each board had 2 tenons, joined one to another. Thus did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. And he made the boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south side southward. And he made 40 sockets of silver under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for its 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, on the north side, he made 20 boards, and their 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under another board. And for the hinder part of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards, and 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle in the hinder part. And they were double beneath, and in like manner they were entire unto the top thereof, unto one ring. Thus he did to both of them in the 2 corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets of silver, 16 sockets, under every board 2 sockets. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the hinder part westward. And he made the middle bar to pass through in the midst of the boards from the one end to the other. And he overlaid the boards with gold, and made their rings of gold for places for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made the veil of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen, with cherubim, the work of the skillful workmen made he it. And he made thereunto 4 pillars of acacia, and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets of silver. And he made a screen for the door of the tent, of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen, the work of the embroiderer, and the 5 pillars of it with their hooks, and he overlaid their capitals and their fillets with gold, and their 5 sockets were of brass. End of chapter 36. Chapter 37. And Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and a cubit and a half the breadth of it, and a cubit and a half the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a crown of gold to it round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold in the 4 feet thereof, even 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. And he made staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he put the staves into the rings on the sides of the ark, to bear the ark. And he made a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And he made 2 cherubim of gold, of beaten work made he them, at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherub at the one end, and 1 cherub at the other end. Of one piece with the mercy seat made he the cherubim at the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubim spread out their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, with their faces one to another. Toward the mercy seat were the faces of the cherubim. And he made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made thereto a crown of gold round about. And he made unto it a border of a handbreadth round about, and made a golden crown to the border thereof round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that were on the 4 feet thereof. Close by the border were the rings, the places for the staves to bear the table. And he made the staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold to bear the table. And he made the vessels which were upon the table, the dishes thereof, and the spoons thereof, and the bowls thereof, and the flagons thereof, wherewith to pour out, of pure gold. And he made the candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work made he the candlestick, even its base and its shaft. Its cups, its knops, and its flowers were of one piece with it. And there were 6 branches going out of the sides thereof, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side thereof, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side thereof. 3 cups made like almond blossoms in one branch, a knop and a flower, and 3 cups made like almond blossoms in the other branch, a knop and a flower. So for the 6 branches going out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick were 4 cups made like almond blossoms, the knops thereof, and the flowers thereof, and a knop under 2 branches of one piece with it, and a knop under 2 branches of one piece with it, and a knop under 2 branches of one piece with it, for the 6 branches going out of it. Their knops and their branches were of one piece with it. The whole of it was one beaten work of pure gold. And he made the lamps thereof 7, and the snuffers thereof, and the snuff dishes thereof, of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold made he it, and all the vessels thereof. And he made the altar of incense of acacia wood. A cubit was the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, foursquare. And 2 cubits was the height thereof. The horns thereof were of one piece with it. And he overlaid it with pure gold, the top thereof, and the sides thereof round about, and the horns of it. And he made unto it a crown of gold round about. And he made for it 2 golden rings under the crown thereof, upon the 2 ribs thereof, upon the 2 sides of it, for places for staves wherewith to bear it. And he made the staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil, and the pure incense of sweet spices, after the art of the perfumer. End of chapter 37. Chapter 38. And he made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was the length thereof, and 5 cubits the breadth thereof, foursquare, and 3 cubits the height thereof. And he made the horns thereof upon the 4 corners of it. The horns thereof were of one piece with it. And he overlaid it with brass. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, the flesh hooks, and the firepans. All the vessels thereof made he of brass. And he made for the altar a grating of network of brass, under the ledge round it beneath, reaching halfway up. And he cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the grating of brass, to be places for the staves. And he made the staves of acacia wood, and overlaid them with brass. And he put the staves into the rings on the sides of the altar, wherewith to bear it. He made it hollow with planks. And he made the laver of brass, and the base thereof of brass, of the mirrors of the ministering women that ministered at the door of the tent of meeting. And he made the court. For the south side southward, the hangings of the court were of fine twined linen, 100 cubits. Their pillars were 20, and their sockets 20, of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silver. And for the north side 100 cubits. Their pillars 20, and their sockets 20, of brass. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the west side were hangings of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver. And for the east side eastward 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate were 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3, and so for the other side. On this hand and that hand by the gate of the court were hangings of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. All the hangings of the court round about were of fine twined linen, and the sockets for the pillars were of brass, the hooks of the pillars and their fillets of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals of silver, and all the pillars of the court were filleted with silver. And the screen for the gate of the court was the work of the embroiderer, of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen. And 20 cubits was the length, and the height in the breadth was 5 cubits, answerable to the hangings of the court. And their pillars were 4, and their sockets 4, of brass, their hooks of silver, and the overlaying of their capitals and their fillets of silver. And all the pins of the tabernacle and of the court round about were of brass. This is the sum of the things for the tabernacle, even the tabernacle of the testimony, as they were counted according to the commandment of Moses for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar the son of Aaron the priest. And Bezalel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that Jehovah commanded Moses. And with him was Oholiab the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and a skillful workman, and an embroiderer in blue and in purple and in scarlet and in fine linen. All the gold that was used for the work in all the work of the sanctuary, even the gold of the offering, was 29 talents, and 730 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary. And the silver of them that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,760 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary. A bekah a head, that is, half a shekel, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for every one that passed over to them that were numbered, from 20 years old and upward, for 600,000 and 3,550 men. And the 100 talents of silver were for casting the sockets of the sanctuary, and the sockets of the veil, 100 sockets for the 100 talents, a talent for a socket. And of the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, and overlaid their capitals, and made fillets for them. And the brass of the offering was 70 talents, and 2,400 shekels. And therewith he made the sockets to the door of the tent of meeting, and the brazen altar, and the brazen grating for it, and all the vessels of the altar, and the sockets of the court round about, and the sockets of the gate of the court, and all the pins of the tabernacle, and all the pins of the court round about. End of chapter 38. Chapter 39. And of the blue and purple and scarlet they made finely wrought garments for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the ephod of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And they did beat the gold into thin plates, and cut it into wires, to work it in the blue, and in the purple, and in the scarlet, and in the fine linen, the work of the skillful workmen. They made shoulder pieces for it, joined together, at the two ends was it joined together. And the skillfully woven band that was upon it, wherewith to gird it on, was of the same piece, and like the work thereof, of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they wrought the onyx stones, enclosed in settings of gold, graven with the engravings of a signet, according to the names of the children of Israel. And he put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod to be stones of memorial for the children of Israel, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the breastplate, the work of the skillful workmen, like the work of the ephod, of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. It was foursquare. They made the breastplate double. A span was the length thereof, and a span the breadth thereof, being double. And they set in it 4 rows of stones. A row of sardius, topaz, and carbuncle was the first row, and the second row an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond, and the third row a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst, and the fourth row a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were enclosed in enclosings of gold in their settings. And the stones were according to the names of the children of Israel, 12, according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, every one according to his name, for the 12 tribes. And they made upon the breastplate chains like cords, of wreathen work of pure gold. And they made 2 settings of gold, and 2 gold rings, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And they put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings at the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains they put on the 2 settings, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, in the forepart thereof. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate, upon the edge thereof, which was toward the side of the ephod inward. And they made 2 rings of gold, and put them on the 2 shoulder pieces of the ephod underneath, in the forepart thereof, close by the coupling thereof, above the skillfully woven band of the ephod. And they did bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it might be upon the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and that the breastplate might not be loosed from the ephod, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he made the robe of the ephod of woven work, all of blue, and the whole of the robe in the midst thereof, as the whole of a coat of mail, with a binding round about the whole of it, that it should not be rent. And they made upon the skirts of the robe pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet and twined linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates upon the skirts of the robe round about, between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate, upon the skirts of the robe round about, to minister in, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made the coats of fine linen of woven work for Aaron and for his sons, and the mitre of fine linen, and the goodly head tires of fine linen, and the linen breeches of fine twined linen, and the girdle of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, the work of the embroiderer, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And they made the plate of the holy crown of pure gold, and wrote upon it a writing, like the engravings of a signet, Holy to Jehovah. And they tied unto it a lace of blue to fasten it upon the mitre above, as Jehovah commanded Moses. Thus was finished all the work of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And the children of Israel did according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses, so did they. And they brought the tabernacle unto Moses, the tent and all its furniture, its clasps, its boards, its bars, and its pillars, and its sockets, and the covering of rams' skins dyed red, and the covering of seal skins, and the veil of the screen, the ark of the testimony, and the staves thereof, and the mercy seat, the table, all the vessels thereof, and the showbread, the pure candlestick, the lamps thereof, even the lamps to be set in order, and all the vessels thereof, and the oil for the light, and the golden altar, and the anointing oil, and the sweet incense, and the screen for the door of the tent, the brazen altar and its grating of brass, its staves and all its vessels, the laver and its base, the hangings of the court, its pillars and its sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court, the cords thereof, and the pins thereof, and all the instruments of the service of the tabernacle for the tent of meeting, the finely wrought garments for ministering in the holy place, and the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons to minister in the priest's office, according to all that Jehovah commanded Moses. So the children of Israel did all the work. And Moses saw all the work, and behold, they had done it as Jehovah had commanded. Even so had they done it, and Moses blessed them. End of chapter 39. Chapter 40. And Jehovah spake unto Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month shalt thou rear up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony, and thou shalt screen the ark with the veil. And thou shalt bring in the table, and set in order the things that are upon it. And thou shalt bring in the candlestick, and light the lamps thereof. And thou shalt set the golden altar for incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the screen of the door to the tabernacle. And thou shalt set the altar of burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. And thou shalt set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and shalt put water therein. And thou shalt set up the court round about, and hang up the screen of the gate of the court. And thou shalt take the anointing oil, and anoint the tabernacle, and all that is therein, and shalt hallow it, and all the furniture thereof, and it shall be holy. And thou shalt anoint the altar of burnt offering, and all its vessels, and sanctify the altar, and the altar shall be most holy. And thou shalt anoint the laver and its base, and sanctify it. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons unto the door of the tent of meeting, and shalt wash them with water. And thou shalt put upon Aaron the holy garments, and thou shalt anoint him, and sanctify him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put coats upon them, and thou shalt anoint them as thou didst anoint their father, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And their anointing shall be to them for an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. Thus did Moses. According to all that Jehovah commanded him, so did he. And it came to pass, in the 1st month in the 2nd year, on the 1st day of the month, that the tabernacle was reared up. And Moses reared up the tabernacle, and laid its sockets, and set up the boards thereof, and put in the bars thereof, and reared up its pillars. And he spread the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent above upon it, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he took and put the testimony into the ark, and set the staves on the ark, and put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle, and set up the veil of the screen, and screened the ark of the testimony, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the table in the tent of meeting, upon the side of the tabernacle northward, without the veil. And he set the bread in order upon it before Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the candlestick in the tent of meeting, over against the table, on the side of the tabernacle southward. And he lighted the lamps before Jehovah, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the golden altar in the tent of meeting before the veil, and he burnt thereon incense of sweet spices, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he put the screen of the door to the tabernacle. And he set the altar of burnt offering at the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering and the meal offering, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he set the laver between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water therein, wherewith to wash. And Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and their feet thereat, when they went into the tent of meeting, and when they came near unto the altar they washed, as Jehovah commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the screen of the gate of the court. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And Moses was not able to enter into the tent of meeting, because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of Jehovah filled the tabernacle. And when the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle, the children of Israel went onward throughout all their journeys. But if the cloud was not taken up, Then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up. For the cloud of Jehovah was upon the tabernacle by day, and there was fire therein by night, in the sight of all the house of Israel, throughout all their journeys. End of chapter 40.